What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Juggy Fresh. I'm back on radio again, although via podcast. Former standout at Bulls Radio at the University of South Florida. I'm back with you guys. I've been going for a while, but you know that I couldn't stay out of the game too long. I had to come back and give y'all the content that y'all need. Right now, you're tuned into the Book of Juggalations, now on Son of Prince Radio Networks exclusively. And I am joined, thankfully, by my brand new producer, Lucky Lex.
Hello, everybody.
And we will see how this goes. We have quite a few interesting topics to get into today. My podcast is not going to be quite as long as the radio show. In the new age of media, things have to be quick, fast, in and out like a porn star. So I'm going to give you the things that you need to hear, that you want to hear. I'll also take your questions, comments, and suggestions via my email for the radio show, Book of Juggulation, that's JUGGULATION @gmail.com. And that's where you can contact me right now. So I'll be allowed to spread my juggy juice all over the many internet media outlets as possible. Those are the ones that decide to play it fair. So I'm Juggy Fresh, and I don't know if you've ever listened to my show at Bulls Radio. This podcast is going to be quite a bit different since, at Bulls Radio, Lex, I wasn't really allowed to, use language. I had to have a very specific set of vocabulary that I was allowed to use, but since I'm out on my own, I'm going to business for myself.
Right.
Now I'm pretty much able to say what I want.
That free speech.
How I want, when I want. And a lot of people say, Juggy, well, you sound different on air. And I say, that's because I sound very professional. I'm still going to sound professional at times.
Give it your best shot.
But this evening, I'm allowing the Juggy juice to flow freely. There's no inhibitors. There's no restrictor plates like NASCAR. I'm going to give it to you guys like you should really try. But all right, let's get down to business. I don't want to hold you guys' time up. I know it's very precious. Today's topics, what are they? How to smash and pass. Gay marriage, or lack thereof. The presidential election / race.
Yep.
A few a lot of albums coming out, and possibly a bit of advice on how to cook a little better. Okay? Now, before I get into the meat and potatoes of the show, a special thanks are going in advance to Monsieur Reggie Bailey. Follow him on Twitter, Reggie Bailey, @Reggie Bailey. Anthony Tissio, officially known as 24/7 Productions with the Z on the end. Obviously, my current producer, I've already introduced, Lucky Lex.
Yep.
So, Lex, why don't you, before I get into the business here, the Book of Juggulations that everybody wants to hear, why don't you give a short introduction, so they know who you are.
Right. Well, hello, everybody. You probably don't know me, but I'm just here to help out my good pal Juggy over here make it big in this world. This is what I like to believe his first step to global stardom, and I'm just one of his many stepping stones. So look out, you big wigs and fat cats. You might just be Juggy's next stepping stone.
Okay, now there are a lot of Negrons across Tampa, especially USF, the area that we currently live in, around the USF area, that are having quite a bit of queso blue balls.
Don't say.
Now, for your own good, for y'all's own good, I'm not going to call out any names, but I know that there's quite a few people that are having issues. They want to smash, they want to have sex, they want to stick it in, they want to get their member wet for better, for worse, but they're having a few issues.
What are those issues, Juggy?
Now, there are quite a few ways, to approach this topic. First of all, you got to know that having sex is just a mindset. A lot of people, we exaggerate what we do in the bedroom. So that's the first thing, is to weed out the good from the bad. You got the weed on one side, you got the chair on the other side. You want to get to what the real truth of the matter is. Since everybody's an individual, the responses are going to be a little different
Right.
depending on the person that you ask.
So by exaggerate, though, do you mean like we glorify sex?
Of
in
course,
such a way?
you know, in a very hyper-sexualized culture, you know, everybody that's, you know, fairly educated should know about this. You know, advertisements over-sexualizing women, men. If you go on Abercrombie and Fitch, I feel like, I mean, for better fortune, gay pride. No offense against, you know, the gay crowd out there. I love you guys too.
Yeah, man, don't want to lose that audience.
It's just it's over-sexualized culture, so you know what I mean. You feel like you have to have it all the time, often, and you feel like you have to have it with an extremely attractive person that everybody else is attracted to. But I just would like you guys to keep in mind, we do live in a matrix. So what that means is you could be in the mindset of I have to have sex. Sex is just the mindset. I can live, born, grow up, and die without having sex, and it's really not going to affect the person I am as far as what the things I can accomplish in life. Now, obviously, if you want to have children, you're going to have sex.
Definitely. Well, you can adopt.
You can adopt. This is true. But if you ever want your own blood children,
That's true.
you want to have mini Juggy or Juggy Juniors.
Juggy Juniors.
If I want to have Juggy Juniors one day,
Juggy Lettuce.
that's what I have to do. But there's a couple things I want you guys to think about if you are trying to smash. First of all, there's lots of things. They're called STDs out there. And nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to talk about that. I listen to a lot of good radio shows, some at USF, some national, and everybody has this topic section, you know, advice that you can give, things that you can do. But guess what? STDs exist. And
Definitely.
I feel like at least half of the time, you're not going to know if the person has an STD, you know? I doubt anybody's going to have sex with another person that has an outbreak, obviously. But chances are that person's not going to know, you know what I'm saying, if they're infected. So while you're, you know, if you're in your mind, you feel like, you know what I'm saying, I need to have sex. Remember that STDs are out there, and no matter how clean your partner says they are, you know what I'm saying, whether it be male, female, it doesn't matter. They do exist, and people do get infected all the time.
Exactly. It's also very important to get tested yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if you caught it before or anything like that. So
You know, this
you
is-
don't want to pass that around, you know, and just kind of perpetuate, you know, the
This is
cycle
real
of
life.
STDs.
This is real life, guys. You know, it's not a music video. It's not a Britney Spears music video. It's not a Kiss music video. It's not a Yo Gotti or a Waka Flocka Flame music video.
Kiss, I
You
like
know,
that one.
You gotta. I mean, you gotta
Yeah, man.
protect yourself.
You gotta be careful out there, man. You don't know what's going on. Like, you definitely have to be careful.
Another thing I'd like for you guys to think about if you're having issues with this particular topic is, remember, if you are indeed in a relationship, or at least you're talking to somebody who's considering being in a relationship, know that no matter what you do, what you say, if y'all decide to have sex consensually, it changes things. It does. You know,
It does.
going out with somebody, you know what I'm saying, you know, you get in the guts, you dig deep, they feel you in the stomach or whatever the case may be.
Right.
It changes, you know, the way that your relationship is shaped. So that's something to think about. Guys, I know you guys want information. I know you guys want topics. A good place to look, there's two girls I've had on my show before, back when I was at BOJ Radio, Alice and Lily, as a matter of fact. Now, they haven't come out with a new video in a while, I don't think, but if you check them out on YouTube, look up College Life Isms. They actually have some pretty deep insight into this topic. So I'm going to refer to their expertise on this particular topic, and then you guys can look at those videos, which are actually pretty funny, fairly informative. I don't know about the accents, but that's something for you to decide for yourself.
Yeah, man. We can just link that in post-production or whatever.
So, another thing you need to think about if you're going to smash somebody. If that person is willing to sleep with you, who else are they willing to sleep with?
Oh, didn't see that one coming.
Now, I'm not saying that, you know what I'm saying, if you smash, then everybody smash, but the fact that they're willing to have sex with you, they might be willing to have sex with somebody else. Just a thought. Just something to think about. If you're really that desperate, I don't want you guys to be desperate. I want things to come naturally. Feel me? If you want to fuck, you want to fuck. Sometimes you're going to get it and sometimes you're not. But these are things I want you to keep in the back of your mind so that you can make a sound decision. So you won't come back to Juggy saying, "Yo, Jugs, man, I got crabs. I'm digging all up in my nutsack and all these things like that."
This isn't
a girl is scratching down and not like she's supposed to. Girls not supposed to be touching like that unless you know what I'm saying they're having sex or something. I don't want you guys to come back and say that to me. So keep that in mind.
Just as a side note, that's stuff he couldn't have said on the radio. You know, this is him keeping it real again. So you're
Something
getting
like that.
the
Yes,
100% Juggy experience. Oh, maybe like 85%, but it's more than before.
As far as preferences go, guys looking at females, you guys should already know my preferences. I love thick women. And now remember, thick is different from fat. If you do not know the difference between thick and fat, your job as a student of Juggy Fresh, or as at least a listener, you need to visit assmatrix.com. They have fully explainable definitions of what ass is and what booty does.
Maybe you can kind of give the listeners a little description, like a distinction between fat and thick, because, you know, maybe some people don't feel like going to that site.
To me,
just for their convenience.
This is everybody's a little different because everybody's perceptions are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Culture, where they're raised,
right.
ethnicities, all these things come into play. To me, the difference between thick and fat is proportion.
Right.
If her whole midsection is out of proportion with the rest of her body, then that means she might be fat.
Right.
Coming from a guy's perspective. If she has 40 triple F breasts and she wears a size 2 pants, that's not fat, but that's disproportionate.
Right.
I like my girls to be solid, like a 3-piece meal from Popeyes. I want it to be solid. But you guys already know about that. By the way, that reminds me, I'm doing an upcoming project. And the point of this is, guys are always looking at females and they're saying, "Yo, we like the way you look right now." You know what I'm saying? You got the fat ass thighs, you got the pretty face like Halle Berry and things like that. But what would happen? What would happen? And shout out to Man Law on Facebook for bringing this to my attention. What would happen if a guy were to see a female in public with his boys and he said, "I wonder how good her personality is. I wonder how well she can cook. I want to know how good she studies. Does she have good personal hygiene? I bet your hygiene is off the chain." What if a guy looked for a female for her personality first instead of looking at her physical attraction, which is almost always the case? I'm going to do a project. It's upcoming. Ladies, if you would like to be a part, hit me up on Twitter, Juggy Fresh, at BOJ Radio. Hit me up on Facebook, BOJ Production Team. Hit me up on my email, Book of Juggulation, JUGGULATION @gmail.com. If you would like to be a part, let me know. I might throw in, I don't know, a trip to a Chinese buffet. You know what I'm saying? Little $15 shopping spree at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Because we're on a budget. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're not like Mitt Romney where we just have money to blow.
Yeah. That's an interesting project you got going on. I'd definitely like to see where that
so
goes.
So that's coming up. That's going to be a video I throw on YouTube probably within the next week or two. All right, next topic. So a thing that's been coming up, around my coworkers, around friends that I know, is this gay marriage thing. Now, let me say this disclaimer. I don't agree with gay marriage, but what other people do with their lifestyle, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? But there's a couple things about gay marriage that I feel I need to touch on before I go on with other important topics on the show. I want to know how gay marriage is supposed to work. I mean, let's correct me if I'm wrong, but marriage was originally designed, you know what I'm saying, between a man and a woman.
Right.
So, and it's supposed to be a union that put those two together and that separate them from everybody else, right?
Right.
The whole part of being married is being with somebody you love. Now, it's always been, or beforehand, it was between a man and a woman. Now, they're putting, men and men together, obviously, and females and females. Is it possible for you to have a family through gay marriage? Well, there is. Obviously, there are lots of children that need families, children that need loving parents, whether they be a father and a mother, two mothers or two fathers.
Mm-hmm.
But will it have an impact, negative or positive, on whether the child turns out to be a good person or not? And that's the thing I have with gay marriage. We'll do some research on this topic, and when we come back to you guys, we'll have a little discussion on this with a couple of experts in the field. I'm going to get a professor or two from USF, maybe somebody from the Career Center, maybe another DJ too, maybe some people from Good Knockin', I don't know. Maybe some people from Real Talk with Samsara, I don't know. Maybe some people from the Steve Harvey Show, I don't know.
Right.
Heck, I might even get Jim Rome on here, who knows? So,
but
I know that marriage was originally a Christian institution.
Uh-huh.
The gay people say, we would like to be married as well.
Right.
Who am I to determine whether it's right or wrong?
Yeah, personally, my opinion on that is, the whole thing changed once, states and the government pretty much got involved with marriage. You can't really force a church to change their beliefs. I think, that's the same kind of wrongness that's going on when you say, hey, you can't get married in our church. But to say, you can't get all the benefits that a married couple gets according to the state, I think the state or the government should allow people to get, a civil union or a marriage as, whatever they want to phrase it as. And to your other point of, raising a family between, a gay couple, I believe that kids can turn out fine with that, as long as they have loving parents who provide for them the basic needs and stuff like that. Sure, there might be other kids that question that and say, why do you have two dads, or why do you have two moms? But other than those minor things, I don't think it will negatively affect them that much.
Okay, obviously everybody should know, as an American citizen, this week, early voting started for everybody. So regardless of who you're voting for, make sure that you vote in the process. Now, a couple weeks ago on Facebook, I was watching one of the presidential debates, and I stated that because I don't believe in the system, because to me the system has not ever worked for the majority, in my personal opinion, I stated I wasn't going to vote. And there was a lot of flack for that. And after having a conversation with Arthur Daniels, who happens to be my father, and a renowned musician from Jacksonville, Reggie Bailey, I came to the decision that, at least for my family, at least for my ancestors, and the people who need it most out there, that I do need to vote.
It's true.
I feel like the media has played us for once again. They gave Romney one debate, they gave Obama another debate, then they have Romney, then they have another one, and it goes back and forth. And to me, it's like, who should you really vote for? There's things that Obama has done that aren't good.
True. Yeah.
People say that Romney doesn't have everything together, but honestly, how many of us could have a plan that the majority agree with to run a country as diverse as America?
It's very difficult. It's hard to judge.
Whoever becomes president, we know they're going to have a significant impact on, national politics, policy, federal laws to an extent. And whatever the president decides, if they decide something to be in the law, you guys have to keep in mind both the House and the Senate have to agree on it for it to pass in the law. And that's something that people always forget about.
That's an important point that a lot of people overlook.
It's like, oh yeah, Romney, he's going to do this. Well, guess what? The House and the Senate's got to pass. And if the House is Democratic and the Senate is Republican, we have a problem here.
That's why a lot of Republicans are pushing for a Republican Senate as well. So if Romney gets elected, it'll be a lot easier for him to pass the things that he wants to pass because he'll have people that agree with him.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, if you have a divided Congress, man, that just makes everything more difficult for people. Ugh.
Now, to me, at this point, I'm going to say Obama. He's the only president the only politician that I've ever known that actually had an impact on my life. 4 years ago, I was back at my community college, and because of a bill he'd passed to stimulate the economy, I was actually able to get a job at my school during a time where I literally had close to $0 in my bank account. I mean, I was bottom, gutted out, completely broke. And at the time, I didn't know that he'd passed the bill in order for people to actually have just enough to get by.
Right.
And I know that it cost the country a lot of money. But because of what he did,
put you on the path.
It put me on the path where I was at least able to stay on my feet long enough to find something a little better.
I'm telling you, man.
And you have to understand, when it comes to this politics thing, you're either going to come from the standpoint of you earn everything you get, even though you might not have fair opportunities, or we have to find a way for everybody to have equal footing.
Right.
Now, I personally am independent. I'm neither Republican. I'm neither Democratic. I believe there are huge holes on both sides of each party. I believe there are serious problems on both sides. I decided not to be a Republican or Democrat. Yet I will have to decide this November, or during early voting to avoid lines, who I'm going to vote for.
Just as a reminder, just want to let everyone know, Obama cares.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Now, while we're on the topic of the presidents, did anybody notice during the debates when the crowd was allowed to speak their mind?
That's my favorite part.
The audience was not even diverse.
Wait, they had that one black guy.
They had one black guy.
That one black guy with this weak question.
They had one black guy. He answered such an open-ended high school writing, English 101 question that anybody could freaking BS. I could BS that and get an A. It takes me an hour to do it in college. What is this? Americans are very diverse. There are Indians, there are Asians, there's South Americans, there's Hispanics, there's Latins, there's Africans.
I think
there's Polynesians.
Yeah.
People come from everywhere to come to this country, and the majority of the people in the audience that were asking questions appeared, I won't say they are, because you never fully know what the person's background is till you get to know them. But they appear to be white. I wanted to know if anybody else saw that. Did anybody see that?
Was anyone paying attention to that, to be honest?
I feel like at least the networks, at least whoever puts these things together, the least you could do, not to disrespect the American people, by allowing 95% of the people to ask the president, whoever's going to be the president, by asking these presidential candidates, there should be a diverse population. That's the least you could do. It's not hard.
No.
It's not hard to find people of diverse background in this country. All you got to do is go to a college. All you got to do is go to a workplace.
That's true. But do you
it's not just white and black anymore. That's how it used to be. In my dad's day, it was all about white and black. It's not like that anymore. It hasn't been that way for a while. And I just implore you guys, to find a way to stay involved. But that ticked me off,
But here's a question. Do you think that maybe that the people who were more interested in going were perhaps happened to be white or or whatever?
That's a very good question. I think with the election of Obama, the last election, our country has recognized diversity on a whole entire level, because you can deny things for only so long. But when you have somebody like Obama, who's basically, for all intents and purposes, a non-white president,
right, for
the most part, or at least half, if you want to go by
Definitely.
pure definitions of technician, the technical definition, having biracial parents or whatnot.
Yeah,
you have to recognize that our country is different. It really is.
It is different from when it was in the 1950s. We've moved so far.
So there are a lot of new albums out, guys. Hip hop's making a comeback. DJ Drama's Quality Street Music, Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, Trey Songz, DJ Khaled, Currency, Hot Spitter, Brandon, Rolling Stones, Jason Aldean, Deathlock for you death metal fans out there. Kiss has come out with a new album.
Kiss.
There are albums all over the place, all kinds of genres. Toby Mac, a major CCM, that is to say, contemporary Christian music artist. All these people have come out with new albums in the past 3 or 4 months. If you guys would like for me to review an album for you so you don't have to buy it, you let me know. Leave a comment on the YouTube page. Give me email, Book of Juggulations, that's JUGGULATION @gmail.com.
Really good at that.
You know, I have a lot of things coming up, and I want to do things with you guys. This is just my first podcast. In a sense, it's pretty much like the main course and an appetizer mixed together, like the thing you do at Chili's. You know,
so
the
good.
2 for $20.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up next week, guys, I'm going to be interviewing the one, the only Olisa /Wisdom of Straight from the Motherland Entertainment. This guy, his group is hot. You know, he's hosting parties, CDs. He's got music. Check out his website, sftme.com. That's sftme.com. I'm going to be doing an interview with him. It's going to be a video instead of a podcast for you guys to watch and listen to at the same time. And obviously, we have the big project coming up. So that's pretty much all I got. Now, this is a little less than half the time it takes me at Bulls Radio. Once again, I don't want to take up all you guys' time. You guys got questions, comments, suggestions of any kind, please feel free to contact me. Use the links below in the information section to get at me. And I will see you guys soon next week. Hopefully, I have things to do. I have videos to make sure I get new listeners and keep the faithful ones I got. So next time I see you guys, hopefully there'll be new listeners amongst the audience. As Jim Rome would say, have some clones out there, Negrons and Caucasoids and all kinds of things like that. I'm going real deep right now, but I'm not going to explain myself because I want you guys to listen the next time. So don't take no wood nickels. If at first you don't succeed, give up, try something else.
Wisdom.
For Juggy Fresh, Book of Juggulations, my producer Lucky Lex, this is the end. I will see you guys later, y'all.
Then you better trust it's a Dutch. I gotta smoke till I die till my lungs are fucked. They say I smoke too much, I ain't smoked enough.
Drinking my cup, getting drunk as fuck. I got a Molotov shot, I'ma burn it up. I got the V to the S to the O to the P, and I sip that shit, then I get back to the weed life.
Comes in the clutch, I be tucking and puffing and choking. I'm smoking, I'm getting so fucking lit. I could just float to the clouds, never come down on some Chris Tucker shit.
Puffing and getting lit, Monday to Sunday. My weed is a one-way ticket, but coming back with it, that misfit. So lifted, that sick hit, trip, stick, shit, bitch.
I'm in the zone, I'm getting broke. Got the weed rolled and I got my drink cold.
Always getting high, always getting tipsy. How you feel, how you feel, come on. I just wanna smoke my weed and drink my drink. Smoke my weed and drink my drink. I just wanna smoke my weed and drink my drink. Smoke my weed and drink my drink. Hey.